Yes, Robyn brought up her father. Just to clarify, because some people always get confused, this is technically her stepfather, but she refers to him always as dad. Anytime she talks about her dad, she's talking about her, who was technically her stepfather, Paul. And it was really interesting because she brought up several things that I don't think she really intended to. And so, and there's three different things. And I'm going to talk first about the whole what he does for a living fact. But it's very interesting. I think she brought up this and did this so deliberately because people around the time that this was being filmed, she would have heard the rumor of people saying that she didn't really, that his first wife didn't really know about them, that they were a secret second family. And so I think she was trying to prove, and I'll talk about that later. But what was interesting was that she mentions that he was a surveyor in Vegas. I'm also going to talk about that later. But right now I'm just going to talk about the part where she said that that her dad helped Cody survey, that he checked out the land in Flagstaff, that he helped Cody and gave him all this guidance. I think she was just trying to show how close that Cody and her dad were. But it's kind of weird because in a roundabout way, she almost kind of implied that some of the shadiness around Coyote Pass that her dad was involved in, because I see now a lot of people are kind of saying like, oh, that's really interesting that the names are so unfair and her dad was involved. I've always said my opinion on how the names were placed is Cody put his name on everything because of course he's going to. And then he put who he thought were the two most loyal wives. I think that what he wanted to do is he wanted to put Robyn on every single property, but he was worried that if he did that, it would be too apparent. So instead, he put Robyn on several pieces of property and Janelle on several pieces of property so that the two wives he was most worried about, Mary and Christine, had sort of this backup. He had this backup. He knew that Janelle and Mary didn't get along, so he figured if there was ever sort of a tie that he would have with Mary, if there's ever a problem, a conflict with him and Mary, he could break the tie with Janelle, and the same with Christine. That's my opinion. And he did it the way he did so it looked random. But to me, it's super apparent that the people that he feels were the most loyal at the time. And what's crazy is I think Janelle was, in fact, the most loyal. And he could have kept her forever if he had just had a decent relationship with her son and he had done the bare minimum with her, but he couldn't even get over that bar. But what Robyn is really saying in the quote that I linked, which is just, isn't it interesting that her dad, was so involved that Cody talked to him, is that she sort of, I wouldn't have jumped to this conclusion, but she basically kind of insisted that her dad was very involved in things. I also think it's very interesting that in the past couple of episodes, we haven't heard Robyn's opinion on Coyote Pass. We hear Robyn's opinion on everything. She will weigh in, especially in the early seasons, she'd weigh in on how Janelle and Mary's relationship was before Christine joined. She was not there. She would, in the early episodes, tell us how people cohabitate as polygamous families, even though she never had cohabitated either as a child or a parent with, blah, blah, blah. But suddenly we're into who deserves what. And Robyn's absent. We're not, Cody's sitting there saying that he would cheat Janelle if he could because Janelle would cheat him. Where's Robyn in all this? Why isn't she stepping in? Why don't we have her on camera saying things like, obviously everyone's going to get 25% each. Now, I don't necessarily think that's fair. Somebody stated it really well, which is when Christine had been paying for her house, and she left with, she got to trade the house for the property and keep the house. What exactly do Janelle and Mary get for their trade? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It just isn't, well, I mean, I've always said before that they deserve they should sell Robyn's house and everyone should get their money back too. Or Robyn and Cody can keep their house and trade in their Coyote Pass. Still don't think that would be fair because the house was 3-4 times more expensive than Christine's house. But how come they get to keep the house and the property, but Christine had to trade in the property for the house? Trade the property for the house, but they get to keep the house and the property. And the house that they bought was twice as much when they bought it and was like 3 times, 4 times more by the time they sold it. Anyway, and I have more to say. Don't worry. I'm going to come back and talk about how mysterious it was that he was in Vegas. And I'm going to talk about, also, I don't know, something else he said. Oh, the fact that she very deliberately implied that his first wife invited her mom in and all that other stuff. But I have a lot to say about that.